Welcome. What? Well, it just stopped raining for one bloody second. Welcome to another episode in my Warhammer 40k Conquest series, where I'll be going over issue 20's painting guide. So we'll be looking at painting the container and using the red paint, so we have a mechanical fill, and also I will be showing you a couple of nifty tricks to get a quick but effective result on painting the interior of your armoured container. Stay tuned. So welcome back, and this time we are going to be doing a little bit different. So this miniature I've already put together and I'm now taking it apart, but just the roof, don't worry. It was really tricky to do, but luckily I didn't put that much glue on, so I could pop it off without snapping the entire thing. So if you haven't glued it together already, keep it apart, and then that way it's a lot easier to paint the interior. So to start off with, what we want to do to get a nice solid base, we're going to paint the entire thing Abaddon black. This way we instantly have a bit of shading, because once we have the roof back on, we want to sort of create a shaded sort of paint scheme while we highlight the ends near to the edge where the light is. In between coats you can also paint Mephiston red onto the barrels and the armoured containers, not the armoured containers, the ammo crates. Again, this is going to take quite a few layers because the brown shows through the red quite easily, so I had to do 3 layers, nice even thin coats, but it came out very nicely. Once the Abaddon black is done, I decided that lead belcher would be the easier colour to do, simply because it's a lot less faffing about and it dry brushes quite nicely onto Abaddon black. So what I'll do is dry brush the entire interior with a 50-50 mix of the Abaddon black and the lead belcher, and then closer to the exits I will then do a pure lead belcher dry brush. And then of course I'm going to give the interior a good shade of non-oil as well, just to tie together those dry brush stages, so you don't get hard lines between the lighter colours and the darker colours. So to start with, let's dry brush the entire interior. So what you want to do is make sure that you don't get any of the paint into the grooves, so you keep that natural shading that you've already created by base coating it in Abaddon black. So there we go. Make sure that you load up your brush, get it all into your bristles, and then get the worst off onto a bit of tissue paper, so kitchen roll, whichever you're using, and just have at it. So you want to do the entire interior of the armoured container and also the door panels as well. Once you're done with that and you've allowed it to dry, we're then going to do the pure lead belcher, but we're going to do towards the ends. So we're going to leave the middle area out, and we're also going to leave just a little gap near the edge where the light sort of sticks out slightly, just to show that there's no light making it on that corner. Once you've dry brushed those areas, you can then start working a little bit more of that dry brush towards the edge, so you've got that last third covered in the lead belcher, and then a more intense dry brush on half of that third. And then of course do the same on the entire interior of the armoured container. And then on the doors as well, you can just go as heavily as you like, and this way it shows off what the colour should be in full natural light. As you can see, you've got a nice variance there, and the same on the interior as well. And if you put the lid on to have a look, you can see already you've got that nice variance in the shade. It looks pretty cool already, and it only took minutes to do. Right, now we are going to go a little crazy, and we're going to give the whole thing a nice good shade of non-oil. This way you won't get any hard lines between each layer of dry brush, and it ties it all together nicely. Make sure that if it does pull, you just spread it out a bit more, and you should have plenty to go round. Once that's dried, you can then get a bit of Death Guard green, and we can paint the screens on the panels as well. Now we should get a shade to use on that at a late stage, and a different green paint as well, which we can use to highlight. So we will get back to that at another stage when we get those colours. But for now, we just glue that lid back on. So you can use the elastic bands or whatever that you used in the first place, but I found that because the sides are already quite firm, I didn't really need to, so I just glued the lid on. And you want to do this before you paint the Mephiston Red on. So while that dries, you can finish off those barrels and those ammo crates, get the Retributor Gold on the details, and then when that glue is finished drying, you want to do about 2 or 3 good layers of Mephiston Red on the outside of your armoured container. We're then going to dry brush with the Bugman's Glow, and then do Retributor Gold and Lead Belcher on some of those details. So the control panels, the Quilla heads, the Storm Bolters, etc. So starting with the dry brush with the Bugman's Glow, make sure that you do get the worst off on your brush, and you should know how to dry brush by now. So just go crazy. Singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What glorious feeling, I'm happy again. No, I'm not, I'm fucking miserable. Piss off, rain! Alright, so once you're happy with the dry brush on the armor container, you can then go back to the ammo crates and the barrels and dry brush those with the Bugman's Glow. We are then going to use the Abaddon Black to go back to the armor container, and all the little skulls we're going to paint black, and the little discs behind them. The reason why I'm doing this is because the Mechanicum sign is a half black, half white background with a skull on the front with the same colours inverted, and because at issue 20 we don't have the colour white, we get that at a later stage. I'm doing the base work for when that comes along, so all of the skulls and the little discs behind them, I painted all of that in Abaddon Black. I then painted the vents as well in Lead Belcher, and the same with the control panel. And then while that all dried, I went back to the areas that are painted in Retributor Gold on the barrels and the ammo crates, and used Earthshade to shade those in. Then I go back to the armor container with non-oil and do all the silver areas that are painted. And then I thought I'd be a bit creative. So we don't have Blood for the Blood God, which is a really cool technical paint. You should get it. But I use what I have. So I used a 50-50 mix of Mephiston Red and non-oil to do a little blood spatter. So you sort of want to do a nice centered pull. And then because the door is slanted slightly, I had it drip down slightly, and I also made sure that I painted it into the grooves to show that it's pulled down into those grooves, and then it runs along the grooves and then down the front of that doorway. So as you can see there, you just push it along the grooves and then downwards, and it gives a more realistic effect, as liquid normally travels down towards the ground. And then once that dried, well, before it dried fully, I got some of the non-oil just on its own, and I dabbed it into the center just to give it a more richer color. So again, it does dry quite flat, but at least this gives it a little bit of depth. If you do have Blood for the Blood God, you can use the same technique with the non-oil to give it a richer color. But the great thing about Blood for the Blood God is that it dries quite glossy. And there you have it. So that's the finished work for issue 20, with a little embellishment, and Lord Felfius just strutting his stuff around the new paintwork. And as you see, that shading is really easy to do, but effective. Okie dokie, here's the community focus section, and it'll be quite a quick one, as I do believe not a lot of people have painted the interiors of their armor containers, and I've opted for the closed container, maybe one door or a little bit of battle damage, and that's okay, there's no problem there. And so yeah, we'll just have a look at what we have. So we have one from Chris Gill, which is pretty damn cool, and I do like this little diorama that he's done. And you can see some Gene Stealers have burst out of this armor container, much to the surprise of this lonely guardsman who's just like, WTF, I hope they didn't see me. So that's cool. I actually do like that, it's a bit of fun. And our other contribution is, here we go. Right, so we got this one from Nathan Pooley. I want to say Pooley, please correct me if it is Pooley or if it's a silent E. But yeah, no, look what he's done. That's pretty damn cool. So I've seen pictures of it on the other side, but it's a chopped up armor container to make a bunker of some kind, and you've got an ultramarine manning the storm bolters while standing on an ammo crate. So that is pretty damn awesome. And yeah, there we go, there's the other angle. Look at that, that's pretty damn cool. What do you guys think? And then we got one from Tom Tattersall, and it's a nice, simple but effective paint scheme. He's painted it blue in and out, and it does the job. And you know, you don't have to worry about shading it or whatever, because he's got one door closed, so the darkness in there is natural, and so you get that. You don't have to artificially create any light sourcing. So yeah, it's a good job, and yeah, I like the little details that he's done on there as well. So thank you very much, guys, for entering in this episode's community focus, and yeah, I look forward to the next one.